me walking by the pool with the big shark in it. You know, like there's certain things that just kind of.
Okay, wait. Okay. Oh.
We talked about it. We talked about it on a podcast.
I got my shark medicine.
You did what now?
And now for something completely different.
In a world where everyone seems to have the answers, two people ask questions. Welcome to the Woo Woo Crew.
Wait, the lighting? How's the lighting?
It looks fine.
It looks fine. I don't give a shit. I don't care about the lighting.
Great. You know.
Wait, let me push my chair closer because it's really far and heavy. So how have you been?
I've been good. Today's my birthday.
Shut the fuck up. Happy fucking birthday.
Thanks.
Guess what? Everlast. Super sweet, huge Everlast hoodie at Five Below for $20.
Nice.
Just basically winning at life right now. Up or down?
Oh, whatever floats your boat.
So that's an I don't care. Okay. I'm just hot. We'll do down.
If it's hot, then, you know, put it up.
If I get too hot, I'll put it.
Are you sitting in like a beanbag?
No, it's just a big chair. It's just really big for my butt.
Okay.
It's super comfy. I just have to sit on my feet or you can't see me.
Yeah.
I'm like a little kid. I'm like a tiny, innocent baby.
Yeah.
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 Oh, I have so many itches. I can't scratch because then I'll have weird red marks on my face. I don't have like... In the summer, I don't do makeup. I just do the eyes.
You don't do makeup.
Like, not on my face. Trying to get tan, you know?
Oh, word?
To your mother. Word to your mother.
I'm adjusting the settings on my thing. So, yeah, well, it's been a while since we've done the talking and stuff, but it sure is good to be back in the seat. I don't know if you remember, but you were saying it was one of the times where the computer was doing its thing, and you were like, "Gah," and I was like, "It's all right. We've already done this thousands of times." And I was speaking like from like a quantum perspective, you know?
Yeah. I know, because in my head I was like, oh, yeah, sort of thousands. But no, yeah, it's always works out exactly like it's supposed to. I also got this at Five Below because I don't still play soccer, but that looks like me. When I have my hair at a bandana, that's exciting.
I love it. That's cool.
It's not a plastic cup. Save the planet. You're welcome.
Hell yeah. That's nice.
Well, I have like so much to tell you.
There's so many things that we can talk about, and
I know.
You've had so many synchronicities, and I've had so many synchronicities. It's bananas. But the one thing that it's kind of been a common theme for the recent times we have hung out, I think I've touched on it a little bit each time, is my dream world is expanding, is the best way that I can describe it. Okay. And the most notable piece of that is that very often when I wake up from a dream, I can either recall what it was like to smell something in the dream.
Yeah.
Or I can like really tangibly replay in my head what it felt like to feel something like in my hands.
What?
And be doing like the clarity of the ability to kind of replay from like a recall kind of whatever is increasing. And the only thing that I've really done, I know we've talked about this loosely, and there's a lot of people that talk about how you can potentially like, you know, push yourself closer to doing that sort of stuff. And a lot of it is like when you wake up from it, like you try to write it down or whatever. But for me, I mean, I have an amber light that I could bring in there and do that, but it just takes so much. Because sometimes I'll wake up a couple times in a night or something. I'd rather come back and just hit voice record and be like, blah, 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 this is what happened. And then, but then sometimes I don't even do that, but I at least will, when I wake up, I sit there and I I don't force it. I just think about what was, and I let things come back to me, and I sit with it for a little bit. And
Nice.
so I can only assume that I'm working out that muscle, but then also the continued introspective work, like in day to day life, is contributing to that as well.
Oh yeah. It's freaking cool. The whole dreamscape is just, I don't know where we go. I don't know what's really happening, but I know that I'm one of those people I can't tell. I wish I could, but never in my waking life have I ever been like, is this real? I've never questioned reality, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't do it in my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say I won't ever remember them, but I
Yeah.
typically only remember them if they're like really scary or really bizarre. And I sit up and I'm like, But if I don't, same thing, if I don't start getting it out immediately, it's just like a psychic impression. It just starts floating away. And it's like, as soon as you start saying it out loud, which is, I think, why it's probably better to write it. But even that, it just, for me, my brain, it starts going. And that information's in there, but trying to get it out is sometimes more difficult for me.
Yeah, I'll be like, some mornings I'll wake up and it'll be like, okay, something. What the fuck was it? And there will be nothing, right? But
Yeah.
I will know that something that I did just wake up from one of those immersive, which is it's pretty consistent every night now. And I'll know that there was something, but I won't see it, and I'll be like, okay, and I'll sit there for a second, just patiently, and then a scene will come back to me from it. Like, oh, that's right. The fucking, yeah, that, and then I'll be like, oh, and then holy shit, and then it'll start like coming back into me,
Yeah.
It's bananas. And some of these scenes, like, they stick with me, further. Like the one we talked about, me walking by the pool with the big shark in it. Like, there's certain things that just kind of.
Okay, wait. Okay. Oh.
We talked about it. We talked about it on a podcast.
I got my shark medicine.
You did what now?
I got my shark medicine at the beach. I swam with 2 sharks in the water. So 4 years ago, I had a dream. And my brother-in-law in the dream, like, I'm up on the balcony and they're down in the ocean playing. And there's a shark coming and I'm freaking out. And he punches it. And it's a big cartoonish shark. But as he goes to punch it, it just like clamps onto his arm and he's like, ah, like the whole scene was kind of cartoony. That he's waving it around. And that was like the last, so we go to the beach every 2 years. So not this last time, but the time before is when I'd had the dream. And as we're on the beach, I had already told Chris about the dream. My brother-in-law starts saying like, oh, if I ever saw one, I would just punch it. And I look over Chris like, oh my God, I had that dream. But it just kept coming back. Like, shark kept coming back into my head. And then tons of videos about exactly where we go, which is Gulf Shores in Alabama. All these videos of people getting attacked by sharks. And I'm like, oh, fantastic. And apparently, like, a week before we went, like a young teenage girl lost a couple limbs. And God, oh, your dog just scared the bejesus out of me. I've been seeing a lot of stuff out of the corner of my eyes, and I thought that was here. And I'm like, I can't during a podcast right now. That's new. And okay, so I couldn't figure out, like, why has shark been such a big deal for 4 years? What the fuck? That's weird. And I was really hoping to find a shark tooth. And I just kept telling myself, maybe my shark medicine will be like swimming with one or seeing one, but not, getting like a bite. That would suck. And sure as shit, swam with a dark one that was like 6 feet and then a white one that was like 5 feet. So they were small, but stayed in the water and it was beautiful watching them. And then I did buy a shark tooth at the souvenir shop because I was like, well, I still love it. And so just this past Sunday, we found a place that's only an hour and a half away from the house. And I don't even remember how we got on the subject, but you can go there and it's this creek under a bridge and you can dig and it's almost like guaranteed to find fossils. Like, the website was making it sound like you're going to leave a shark teeth and fossils. So I was like, let's go. We came home with like 10 shark teeth and a gajillion fossils. It was just absolutely incredible. And I looked up shark. I knew I was getting a new ability because I've had different things happening than usual. It was the most notable on the way to the beach because it's a very long drive. And at one point I was like, I feel a deer. Maybe 2 miles up the road, there's a huge doe, but she's dead on the side of the road. So I was like, well, that's depressing. And then a little bit later, I was like, I feel whatever. And then there's another animal. Again, it was dead. And then an owl flew over. So I knew something was going on. Like first night there, we wake up and there was a dead bat in the pool. So I was like, oh my God, I got bat medicine back. But ew. He was so cute. Kristen let me keep it in the freezer. He was like, it'll get gross. And I was like, you're whatever. Because I could have displayed it. It would have been awesome. He's like, I'll just buy you one. Whatever. It was really cool, but I wasn't getting in that pool. And he was like dead. And his face, no. But then that night, all these bats were flying out. Because when bat is my totem, I see them everywhere. I've seen them every single night since the beach. But when it's not my totem, I don't see bats anywhere. No bats. And then you had the dream with a shark. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh. So what it was representing, and it matches you. My cards were saying for like a couple years that you're getting a new ability, but you're not paying attention. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to pay attention if I don't know what the fucking ability is? So I look up the shark meaning, and shark is like willpower, determination, and senses, because they have an incredible ability to sense everything, to feel literally what's around them. And I was like, motherfucker, that's my new ability, is to literally feel. I can feel if a snake is coming up. Every time I walk into the park, I know what I'm going to see, what animals. Last time I got a hawk feather, but 30 minutes prior, I was like, there's a feather here. It's for me. I'm being gifted a feather. I could see it and I knew it. So I wasn't leaving until I found it. And we were literally leaving and I was like, whatever, I'll stay grateful. Look down, hawk feather. Mm-hmm. Same exact color I saw in my eye. And it was just, or with my third eye. It was really incredible. So now I'm learning to not just feel other people's feelings, which is what I've been doing and learning how to adapt to. But because remember I was discussing, I'm like, why do I know when people are going to have a baby? How do I feel or know someone's pregnant without knowing these people, or know when someone's going to die without knowing these people? And it's part of that sensory ability of just feeling everything. Mm-hmm. But it also, with new abilities comes, you have to dig out your old shit because you have to make room for new. So it's been
there's more of that to do. Yeah. I've had a little bit of that emerging in my world too. It's been interesting, but I don't really want to go into it currently.
Oh yeah, me either. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, but so you were saying the shark. You found your shark medicine.
So yeah, anytime I have anytime I get like a new totem animal, being someone that works in the unseen realm, usually a person will have like a main spirit animal. You can also have the power animals, which is an animal that you call upon to have its likeness, whether that's patience or super strength, right, whatever it is. Yeah. But being a shaman, there's different times in my life, or being whatever, it doesn't matter what you label it, just being me, there's different times in my life where I'll have certain animals because I need them in that time. But then they'll go away because I don't need them all the time. But I knew that shark was one that I'm going to keep for life. You just know without knowing how you know. And so when you receive the medicine, it's either like a feather. It's kind of like a gift saying you're getting the medicine. And I knew it. And I was so terrified because I was convinced with all these shark attacks. I'm like, fuck. I mean, I had my binoculars the whole time. Anyone was in the water, I was watching, scanning. I saw tons of sharks, tons of dolphins, lots of experiences. But swimming with the two, that's literally what I said before we went. I'm like, maybe I'll just like swim with one or two. That'd be nice. And that's exactly what happened. It was really
there how far out were you when you were in the ocean?
Not even, I'd say waist deep maybe. And when I saw the sharks, I was thigh deep. I mean, it was shallow.
Yeah. Was the beach crowded? Was there people out there too?
No, I mean, there were a ton of people like way down, but we were with the houses and not the condos. So you kind of had like your own. You have a private, yeah, which is great. But I was like, whenever one of us would get in the water and I'm looking, I'm like, we're the only snack for like a mile. So I don't know if y'all trying to be out there, right? But luckily I was using my senses, and you know if there's a shark and or dolphins coming in because you smell them. Mm-hmm. They stink. They smell like fish. And not regular ocean, but you're like, and it's usually the dolphins because there's just thousands of them. You may see 7, but there's thousands in a pod. And we did see a gajillion of those. And then more manta rays. I didn't see the manta rays. Those weren't meant for me. I got to see them last time. But it was definitely an experience that helped me show myself my lies, see my lies, where I'm having core beliefs that are not true, still holding on to like this dead version of me and dragging her around. It's like, put it down, sweetie, put her down.
Yeah.
But I have to also honor, with this past Father's Day, losing my biological father, but also no longer having a relationship with my dad that raised me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm literally going through a grieving process with him still being alive. And it's really complicated because it's super easy for your brain to be like, I'm not sad because he might call and he won't. And I know that. I know it. Mm-hmm. And that sucks. But I've been not recognizing that as like a legitimate source of pain. And so I've just been, I was projecting and bleeding all over everybody. But I've got that under control.
But we're all good now, everybody.
We're good now. I mean, I don't have any friends. But like, we're good. No, really, it's been awesome. And then my friend, her baby came into the world at 1:36 p.m. a couple days ago. Sweet baby. 9 pounds even.
Cool.
And she was one of the ones I knew, she was pregnant before.
I want to potentially illuminate one of your lies.
What?
I think that there are sometimes dolphins that are more loners that don't hang out with a shit ton of other dolphins.
There are times, but that was just what nature documentaries for 37 years have told me.
That's just what you recall from your biased perspective of it.
What? I mean, I'm not saying they're not alone. It was just, it's like it was really cool. It was like a drone shot on planet Earth, and you could see all these dolphins, but they said there's a huge falcon.
Hey, see, I'm right.
Feet out. And they said for like every dolphin you see, there's like 20 underneath it, and that they travel, and it's more of a food thing.
It very well could be. I just know like, so I had a really crazy synchronous moment with a dolphin. So there's a place that I hung out a lot at. It's a park near where I used to live, in Safety Harbor, Florida. And
I'm sorry, just FYI, I'm not saying that they never live alone.
Huh?
I'm not saying they never live alone. I'm just saying they stink if they are in a big pod.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I know. I was just farting around with you. But the memory that came to me though, it was back when I was first starting to get into like doing some meditation and some more introspection and shit. And I was sitting on a bench, and it was one of the first few times that I had like been out kind of in a outside scenario with my eyes closed for an extended period of time, without like, and just sitting there and working to be present. And I did like a little guided meditation. And I shit you not, when I opened my eyes, there was a dolphin that was swimming right up to where the seawall was that I was sitting. And it did like this kick and splash, and then it fucking swam off. And in this area, it's kind of more shallow. So this one, he is alone. That one, he might have come away he might have had a pack back there.
Yeah.
But man, what a moment.
It wanted to say hi. Huh? I mean, they use 20% of their brains.
Yeah.
Like they didn't just evolve telepathy. And like echolocation, they made it.
You're saying there's a chance that because of the frequency I was at, that potentially he picked it up or she picked it up and came to say hi?
I'm saying guaranteed, but yeah, there's a chance.
You're saying no.
I'm saying it's a fucking fact.
Phil,
I'm saying I just don't believe in coincidences. I believe in synchronicities.
Yeah, I think that there's something to that.
Yeah, they feel. So like I'll put my feet in the water, and every time we're at the beach and I start singing, or I'll dance, like the just stomping the heartbeat of the earth, and they'll come in every single time. At least one. There was like kids. It was sweet because the dolphins were swimming, and the mom was like, "What the fuck?" The little babies wouldn't keep up, and one of them did like the full on SeaWorld, like popped its head up and looked at me, and I was like, "Hi, come closer." And mom was like, "Nah."
So I want to take a moment to go into synchronicities a second. I know we've done it before, but something that so to draw over to like what I'll talk to people about when I'm working with someone is like, whether you're looking at this as woo woo or not, any moment that pops up in your day when you feel resistance of any form, in theory, it's an opportunity for you to work with your central nervous system, your inner child, your subconscious mind. It's an opportunity to do that, right?
Yes.
So if we look at that like scientifically, it's true. That's a beneficial practice to adopt.
Yes.
But what you're saying, from my perspective, underscores the idea, which I'm more and more embracing, that if that's the case, then that means it's always something. So if you just have a fucking fly land on you, it's something. It doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, I need to go to the store because a fly land on. But it's all you, it's all part of you. And so like if you have a thought that's whatever, and then two birds land and you go, oh shit, it's not about what does two birds mean. It's like, oh dude, this is a synchronicity. Like
I was just gonna say,
I just
and
looked
it's
at the clock when I said that, and it said 2020. I shit you not.
I believe it.
Right. The final edit may be a little bit different, but on my clock it said fucking 2020 when I said
oh my god, that's awesome.
right when I look, and I haven't, you know what I mean? Like that's little shit. And the thing is, when you start talking like that though, then it's easy for people who are not anywhere near this to be like, oh, they should have straitjackets.
And that's what's funny is, I understand because I was that guy. So I can, and so are you. And that's why I understand. I'm like, dude, no, I get it. My brain hasn't processed it. There's a lot of stuff that my brain's like, nope. And I'm like, no, that happened. You were there. And it's like, nope. Because there's a part of our brain that decides what it will, we take in so much information. There's so much happening and we're constantly creating a narrative. Right now you're like, Heather's talking.
System,
right. Yeah. And like that, when you're on having like an aha moment or a transcendental meditation or sacred medicine, like whether it's psilocybin, ayahuasca, Mary Jane, whatever, those moments can happen because it kind of shuts that off where only some information comes in. And that's when I have the opportunity to not analyze it and be like, no, I don't think so. Because is not believing. I've seen so much where I'm like, I don't think, but it's all it is just being loving with myself and being like, you know what, when I'm ready, I'll accept it.
I think that the disconnect for the analytical mind, and I know we've talked about it before, but it's fun to talk about it again further down the road. The disconnect for the analytical mind is like, okay, well, maybe that could be a thing in theory in some kind of world. But if that's a thing for anyone, then now we have what we perceive to be this quote unquote one map where whatever 8 billion people all have the same thing. So any fly that lands anywhere, and it's all the same, but it's all different and it's all unique, and somehow it works. So the synchronicities that show up in my world, somehow everything lines up to where they show up in your world too. And not only that, fucking anybody else, if they were aware of it, if they were at the space where they could see that. But you have to break through the conditioned thought to be able to taste it a little bit. And it sound a little bit batty to say that,
Not at all. I don't think so at all. I think what's batty is living
to the masses. Sounds batty.
Because the masses are only programmed. They're running on a program. They don't know who they are. Damn sure don't know who we are.
That's the thing, is even that sounds, even that, you think about our older self.
To me,
think about you from before this, and you hear someone say, yeah, but that's just a program. You're like, that bitch is just fucking, and then you move on.
And then I feel sorry for those people because honestly, like, that part I don't remember. I don't remember what it's like because the moment that I came out of whatever I fucking felt God. I felt the source of all that is. No one could tell me differently. After that, I was like, that saved my life. And that's what I used. And that is my core foundation. Like, I have no question. And it's not an ugly thing. Like, not think what you want. Obviously think what you want. And I respect whatever you think. But it's like, man, there's a sadness where I don't want to ever push my stuff on anyone because I can't call it a religion or even really beliefs because that changes constantly. It's like you could look at it as a way more fun way to live. Like you can remove the mundane by not living in the past every single day and remembering that every single moment there's infinite possibility and remembering that the simple fact, like, okay, if you know the answers to why am I here? What is my purpose? And am I happy? Like if you can answer those 3 questions, and happy is subjective. So like, am I at peace? Is my mind at peace? Am I running on fight or flight 24/7? If you're straight with all that, keep doing you. If you're not, which I know you're not, which is the masses, ask questions, look into the weird shit, because there's a reason that it works for people. There's a reason we all have the same
Well, I think
stories.
part of what drew me together with it is it's all like, if you look in the self-help books, like one of the most popular books about like success is Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. And the principles that are in that book, it's this stuff. It's this stuff, you
Yeah.
know? But it's like, how do you tie it together though? Because when you just read a book and you're like, yeah, if you have the proper mindset and whatever. See, because I didn't have that immersive experience that let me know that it was there.
Right.
It was all like just trying to figure it out. And so when I first would read a book like that, I'm thinking, okay, well, if that's the case, then how the fuck does all this work? And that doesn't make sense. And I would move on. And it took getting to a certain space where I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it takes work, and that's what people don't want. And I think the best way to explain to someone when they are being skeptical is you're simply resisting truth, and that's why it's so upsetting to them.
Mhm.
Is they know somewhere in there is that little kid that's like, they telling the truth, and that adult programmed version. And when I say programmed, I mean your teachers, your parents, everything that you've been taught. It's been scientifically proven. We each live in our own reality. We have a collective hive-like mind that we can access if we're able to.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no one reality. So if you don't believe that a fly landing on you means anything, then it doesn't, and it won't ever, and it won't happen in the first place. But because you were creating it constantly. So that, which has also been scientifically proven, like a thought has been measured as with mass. A thought turns into matter. It becomes a thing. So what you think matters, and that's why your words are so important and sacred.
Yeah.
Because spelling, like that's why they call it spelling. It's casting a spell.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Yeah. Casting the energy through which.
Yeah. And that's like my main thing. I think my purpose is to just be a tuning fork that is of high vibration, so that every single person that I come in contact with, I can raise them up a little bit. That's my purpose. I stopped trying to be like, because I think with purpose, we equate it to a job, because that's our programming. That's capitalism.
Right.
That's not purpose. That's something to do with your hands, somewhere to go. It's not who you are. I think purpose is more of why did my soul want to come here? Or if you don't believe in souls, what would make me feel good all the time to do? And typically, if you're on this path, it's going to end up being service. Mm-hmm. For most people. Not always, and that's fine. If it's to go out there and make hella money, do it. Because that's your, like everyone's is going to be different, and it's all beautiful, and we need all of it. We need every bit.
Yeah.
And that's the other part, is learning that there is no such thing as good or bad.
I think that there are people that can reach a space in life where they desire something different, and they can discover, mindfulness practices, maybe read an article that shows like, hey, meditation increases this. And then they go, oh, all right. So they sign up for meditation class and yoga and journaling and stuff. And they don't really go deep. They just they adopt some more mindful practices.
Right.
That makes them a little bit happier. And they're like, okay, then that's what this is. That's what this is. And they go about their life and live a happy life. But I think for me, I'm looking at that like, okay, I see that there's, a scientific benefit in certain areas, but how the fuck does this all connect? And so for me, I had to like figure out kind of a model, which, like you said, the beliefs are always changing. And so that's, but I have a model that I've been working on that, even if one piece of it moves, it's like, all right, well then it's something else in that area, but the model is still good. And that allows me to get into doing the shit that's been beneficial,
Absolutely. And that's the cool thing too, is like, it happens exactly in its time. So if there are a lot of people that will never, and that makes, it's a bummer. They're never going to wake up. They'll die not knowing how to die. And those are the, it doesn't turn out super great.
Yeah.
From my understanding, it's not like there's hell or anything, but you're just like standing there with your dick in the wind, not knowing what to do because you don't know to create a reality.
Well, I also think that, within my model of it, right? Like whatever life, when the life ends, it's like, all right, hey, your life contributed to the Akashic records. It contributed, and that's
yeah.
the ultimate goal,
I
right?
feel like the ultimate goal is way more selfish. Like we're coming in like I need to work on this. I need to work on this. I want to grow here, or like I had
No, I agree with that. That's
yeah.
but from my perspective, that's like individual, like our individual
Oh yeah.
goal. But like the goal of the experiment, the overall thing is experience and expansion of
That's
experience,
it.
which includes fucking everything,
All
right?
of it. The
So
shitty.
therefore,
The
like
yeah.
whenever we quote unquote leave the stage, hey, your life mattered no matter
Yeah,
what.
absolutely. No
No
matter
matter
what.
what. And that's where, in the middle, well, what about fucking? I'm like, all right,
I know they're like, well, why would God let? And it's like, why do you? Okay, well, God's not a person, so you're thinking that's like when people
well, no, I
humanize their
agree with you. I agree
dogs.
with you, but it's like, from my perspective, it's like, have you ever looked at your subconscious belief structures? And most people in those categories are going to say no, or if they say yes, they're lying.
Everyone would say, yeah. I was going to say, yeah. No one. I'm still looking at it, and
Yeah.
I'll fail, and then I'll do it again, and
Yeah.
that's okay because I'm each time a little bit better, a little stronger, a little wiser. I'm growing.
Yeah.
And that's like so in those moments when I'm at my lowest because I as much as I experience so much bliss and joy, I can just irritate the fuck out of anyone by just walking around. I'm like, isn't life perfect? Everything's perfect. It's like manic. Everything's so. I'm like, everything is
I don't
awesome.
do that, but I do, like, when I go into public, I'm usually smiling whenever I connect eyes with people now, which has been like really, really interesting.
It feels good.
Because sometimes,
well, yeah, I don't say it to strangers. That's weird. Just
well, no,
in
but
the house
even just like passing someone and smiling at someone, out in
that's
public, and then you get a mixture, right? You get those that they're not ready to smile, and you get those that are like, you smile, and all of a sudden they just light up, right?
Yes,
and that makes you feel good, And it used to be for me, if I would smile at someone and say I smiled at a man or something, and he didn't smile, I'd have like a physiological response, from that inner child.
Oh yeah, I used to be like, I fucking take my smile back.
But now, like, I don't have that anymore, and I can, like, I'm always smiling. I'm not always smiling, but I smile considerably more than I used to.
Same, yes,
So
absolutely.
Something's happening. All right, I feel compelled. So I think that the reason that I'm going here partially is because of listening to a podcast recently that I really related to with Emily Fletcher, and she was talking about she spent $50,000 on marketing to figure out a way to say sex magic without saying sex magic. Basically tapping into, right, the power of divinity in, the hoo-ha, as she calls it, right?
I was fixing to say marketing, girl, sex magic, that's all you need.
Yeah, I know, but like by the time she got done with that, like she then realized, oh shit, we could have just gone with sex magic,
That's fantastic, clickbait.
Yeah. But at the time, it was still, like, 3 years ago, it was still a little bit more taboo in the consistent narrative. Now it's
I was fixing to say I didn't know it wasn't taboo. I thought it was still very much.
Yeah, it is.
Because I'm not.
But it's starting to open up more. And
Good.
so what they're talking about is that, like, now if you search like sex magic on YouTube, like, you will discover some stuff there. But she spent and came up with pleasure prayer, right? But the reason, which I think is kind of funny, but and also true based on as I understand it, but like the experience of talking about it, like, she started out working on people with meditation and things like that, and was really, really good and helpful for me discovering meditation. Emily Fletcher, I think I've shared her with you before too. But then she reached the space where she's like, no, this is what I need to focus on, helping alchemize the taboo nature of that, right?
Yes.
But what she said was, I think back to a 3-year ago version of myself, and if she heard some of the shit I was saying now, she would be like, fucking, what are you doing? And so for me, it's like, it's kind of that way. And I also know that there are individuals that listen to this podcast that maybe, and there's that part of me, it's like, it comes back out from the first couple episodes we had, right? Where I didn't always think this way, but there's something to it. And I'm not fucking nuts. And
I know, it's like I literally would have like punched the old me when I'm like, oh my god, life is beautiful and everything's connected. I'm like, eat a bag of dicks. Like I was a little jaded, eat a little jaded. And it wasn't like I was angry all the time. I didn't know. I mean, I was, but I didn't know. I thought that was all just
I don't think I
hoo-ha.
I would just be someone who would be like, all right, they're a little bit out there. So what do you want? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, maybe
Did
she's
you hear what
homeless.
that
I don't
one
know.
lady
She's
was saying
crazy.
over there? Let's get the fuck out of here, man. You know, like
I'm telling you. But then you get into it, you're like, what?
yeah,
And the great mystery is we're not supposed to know the what we will always seek, which is the answers, but it's the questions that matter. It's the questions that arise, because every time you get an answer, there's 20 follow-up questions.
Yeah.
And the natives called that, the great mystery. Like, just give that to the sun, give it up, give up the resistance. And I've got it. I tell Chris all the time, like, I'm just going to get accept it, like, on my forehead, because I'll forget. And I resist what is. And I'm like, what are you doing? You are exhausted from trying so hard to be miserable today. You're exhausted from it. Yeah. So just let it go.
I want to give you one just real quick that's emerged in my world recently. That's like, I feel like if someone, gets into this enough, depending on the individual, they'll get to the space where they're like, all right, but like, what do you mean don't watch the news? I got to watch the news. You got to. And so I've had a couple conversations in the recent weeks where what came out as an unconscious framing was, but you gotta be informed, Phil, is what was said. Right.
I'm like, oh.
What I heard right then was that's the programming. That's the programming. That
you
right
need
there.
to be afraid. You need to know what's going on.
Yeah. But then, depending on their level of intellect, they may say, no, it's not about being afraid. It's about being informed. It's about being
informed. Yeah, but like if it's not on my doorstep, why does it matter?
Yeah, all this stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, hey, man, we could potentially go down a road of thought that maybe there's something that you can debate and will make me think differently than the way I think. But the one thing that's a certainty is that the framing that came out of you got to be informed is an unconscious pattern that's been there for fucking a long time. And
a long time.
Not yours to begin with,
I know. And that's the thing that when they say, I love the preference is the road to suffering, because every time, even in that moment, we can choose to not have a preference. It's a mask. It's not real. It's bullshit. We decide I like white instead of black shirts. Like, so in that moment you can go, you know what? I love the news. I love that you love it. And maybe I'll watch it some more. I won't, because it's lies, but maybe I will. Not say that part, but like we could always be respectful and not even get emotionally tied to it.
That's for sure. But the situation.
But that took me a minute to learn, and then when I learned it, I was like, wow.
I'm with you on that all the way. But this was a little bit different. It was a situation where someone came to me more with like but you got to watch.
You saw
It was like, what do you mean? And it came
as if I was told I keep my head in the sand, and I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. But generally speaking, like if it's yada yada something, I'm like, oh yeah, anyhow, and I fucking go over here somewhere.
Yeah,
the subject,
right? Because that's not them talking. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, but man,
I know that the news one's funny because I've been told like, oh, so you keep your head in the sand. And I was like, well, no.
I'll give one to that. And I've said a lot of times, and I know that part of this is the unconscious inner child trying to validate everything. But it's a true statement. It's a paraphrase of Dr. Tara Swart. You'd be hard-pressed to find a neuroscientist that watches the news.
Oh, really?
Neuroscience, they're the motherfuckers that get the idea of how the brain works. Maybe they're onto something, And
Steve Jobs didn't let anyone in his family or himself use an iPhone. He knew what that thing was capable of. So, I always found that interesting. I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
So you banned everyone you love from using it? Yeah. I'll take 2.
Yeah. I've had people where I found out that they're watching a shit ton of news, and I'm like, all right, well, I would love it if we can work towards like a 14-day break. I'm not telling you never watch it again, but let's just do a 14-day break. And if they have resistance, what I'll say is, okay, at least switch to reading articles from whatever you deem a trusted news source,
Yeah.
but you read the article as opposed to watching or digesting any content related to it. And like it's training wheels, right? It's like, let's just put these training
For
wheels on
sure.
and stop
Yes.
the fucking energy that's coming in from that, at least,
Yes.
the fucking shit, dude. That shit does something.
I know. I was getting my nails done one time at the nail salon. This was a couple years ago, and I was like, man, I'm like, I must be picking up on someone because it was really relaxing in there, but I was getting like really uncomfortable, and then I started to get panicky, and then I looked up and I was like, son of a bitch, the news was on every single TV, and I didn't realize it, and I was like, can you change the channel because this is sucking up my life force, bruh. Yeah, it's just and if you're able to read it or watch it and it not bother you a tad, okay. I just don't care.
I think it's almost impossible for someone to.
I agree.
If they watch, 20 minutes every other day of the news, then maybe it's not a big deal. But I think that even that has an adverse effect for someone who decides, I want to live a more mindful life. I want to be more healthy. Even that contributes,
Because at the end of the day, for me, I'm like, everything that you need to know is in here. Nothing is external. You know everything that's happening in the world, but you have to go inside and shut down and learn how to do that. We're incredible beings, every single person. And I think that we all come in with these abilities, and some people are like better at soccer and basketball and this and that, but we're all athletes in that arena. We're all psychic. We all have the abilities. We have hundreds of crystals in our brain, hundreds, if not thousands. What they there for? To me, it's like super clear that it's for the telepathic connections that we all have. We all use telepathy all the time. We even use like the clairsentience. When you walk in a room and no one has to be saying anything, but someone was just fighting. You're using a psychic ability. You're feeling an imprint of energy.
A little bit of that old street just came back out right there. I agree with you, but a little bit of that old street came back like, someone was fighting,
someone was fighting up in this room. It does. It falls out. I can't.
No, but you're totally right. Yeah, I agree with you completely.
But you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I thought this was cool. So even just sitting in a chair for 30 days, you'll be there. Like your filled particles, your atoms stay present in a spot for up to 30 days. How cool is that?
That is pretty cool.
I don't know why that popped into my head, but I was in this chair and I'm like, so anyone, and I guess that's why I was thinking energetically when people like smudge and they're like, why do you do that? People literally are still on your stuff, and if they didn't have good energy, you just want to.
Well, it's like just the power of intention in our thoughts. I mean, like it's all the stuff that historically, I would say, what? I mean, even the first time that you and I talked, I know we talked about that. There's certain things that you'd say where I'd be like, what? But now, like you said something today and it's not bringing back a big bell because it doesn't do that to me like it did in the past. I
right.
About like how you had a new, I don't know if you said power or you had a new thing.
Oh, medicine. Ability.
I think it was ability. Yeah. It was like that. And I see it, but I'm like, yeah. I mean, inside, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. Like
right.
Whereas like before, because I think part of that's because of my own experience with the shifts in those categories.
No, for sure. Are there any doves outside your window?
Doves?
Doves like a bird?
The only window here is the one behind me, and
just look.
Well, it's like a fence right there.
Just look. I'm curious.
So you're making me do a whole bunch of shit now.
Oh my God, I have to turn all the way around.
There's nothing there, and I also broke part of the...
oh no.
That's okay.
You broke your chair?
No, the blinds, they're kind of the cheap ones, but like the very end that comes off the strap, two of them are now...
I hate that.
Two of them are now not there anymore.
We didn't have to rip it. Well, you're going to see a dove today. I feel it. It's that weird thing. It just popped in. I don't know why.
I think that's very possible, but I also see doves quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't have an explanation for it.
So you're correct. There are doves outside of this house.
I know, but I feel like it was like, I don't know
Yeah.
how to explain it. I felt like there's got to be one or was one right there.
Yeah.
Or outside of a window.
There was, I don't know when it was, a few days or a week or two ago when I was outside and I was like doing some introspection and reframing of some things and looking at some stuff. And I came to like a revelation, and there was 2 doves on the power line. It's kind of like centered in the way they were like together. It was different, again, there are birds around here, but there's something about it, so.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was that. That's really cool.
Well,
I see doves all the time too. Like, I totally 100 get what you're saying. They're literally everywhere. I mean, they're basically pigeons. I know that, but I just had a weird feeling, and I was like, dove, just dove. And so my interpretation, I was like, maybe there's a dove outside and it's going to prove something. But maybe it was just to bring that up, which is really cool, because at the park I saw, when I was with my friend who was pregnant at the time, and we were walking, and there's this beautiful big fat dove, but she was walking on the ground. And at the park, that isn't usually, they're in the trees because it's safe. And I just thought that was odd. I was like, huh. And then there was a rabbit, which I hadn't seen in months. And I'm like, huh. So yeah, dove is a beautiful synchronistic one. That one's like the representation of the divine, the divine feminine, when you see it and you're like, that's different. And you don't know why it's different. You're like, it's a dove on the ground. What?
Yeah.
In a nature park, brah. But it was still, I was like,
What if you had said that and I was like, well, yeah, I have a dove farm right behind me.
I would be like, dope.
Dove farm.
I would think it was really cool. But that's the stuff that's hard for me to process. I'd be like, cool. Why? Why would I need to know? Why would I feel that? That's usually my question is, why do I need to know that? It's cool, but like, why? And I won't get that answer, and I have to accept it.
Yeah, so that's like the difference, right? Is that, how like everybody has their own unique relationship with their universe, how the world interacts with them. And yours, there's like a deeper sensory ability where you're able to like kind of receive things that the majority of people, not so much. And like, so for me, divinity is a state of mind, and I do feel certain things like happening in my body that are, I would say, only akin to something in this category.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that's like super, super wow. It's more like just the daily vibe, the daily immersion in the present moment.
And that's a super wow, though, compared to what most people are living. That's a big fucking deal. I mean, and I remind myself and always try to remind others, like, we can't compare because it's so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah.
I know everyone's like, oh, people think it's, when I'm talking to people that I do open up to about it, they have so many questions and they get really fascinated. And I'm like, yeah, it's fun. It is. It gets fun a lot, but like, it's hard a lot.
I have one friend that super, super good friend that like I can go down these roads with. And it's funny, like when I do, like he's interested, but he's just starting to open up his mind to this stuff. And I think that the way that I talk about it to him, like he's like, okay, but sometimes like he'll encourage me, and then I'll go down this long road, and then I'll stop and be like, I don't know if that was good or not, but it felt good,
Yeah. I don't know if you needed that, but I needed that.
Yeah, that felt good to me. So
right. And I feel like that happens a lot too. It's like if I'm that was the other thing Shark was representing was it's time to be the teacher.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I don't wanna. And I do, and that's where like the old part of me, the old beliefs are like, you can't. Who are you?
Well,
it's like that little voice that you got to go.
If I may, right? There are countless ways to be a teacher, and I know that you would agree that to a lot of for one perspective, you already do have components of that in your daily life. It's just kind of who you are, but also like you and I hanging out and talking about whatever we talk about falls in that category. And I do feel that today there was kind of a reemergence of one of our first episodes, which I think was good. I think it was a good experience. But like our general mode of conversation, like even just sharing experience and insight, like on a podcast, there you go.
That's true. It's really cool. And it's beautiful because it's the best way for me to learn. Because sometimes I'll be talking and stuff comes out of my mouth and I'm literally going, oh, I'm learning at the same time I'm talking. Like as it's coming out, I'm like, mother shit.
I can relate to that in my
Right? It's so cool.
Yeah.
It happens in that flow state where it comes out and you're like, and then you kind of stop. You're like, I just learned that too. Like writing it down. Like it's cool.
Just happened?
Did y'all hear that? And it feels like it should be like breaking news. Like the way your brain experiences it, you're like, this is like the biggest how is this? This should be on the news. This is newsworthy. But it's just in your little reality. But it's cool.
Yeah, apparently a friend of mine told me that the local Tampa Spectrum Bay 9 news is more like old school news. Like they actually talk about what's going on in the neighborhood and stuff. And they have like
like the community? That's wonderful.
They have like a 2-minute news segment with politics. And they go like for Trump, they're like, well, Trump, he got almost killed.
He's still there.
And so that happened, but he's still here. And they move on. They're not like fucking,
yes.
and then they go on. I was like, that's cool. I'm not going to watch it, but that's cool,
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's what I would love. Like in the olden days, people sat down like with the town sheriff and, everything was about community and not so global. Now the global part is also beautiful because of the way we can connect with people all over the world, but we have to be mindful that community, the place right here that you're reverberating to and is reverberating to you is what matters the most.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where you can make change. You can't change Syria. You can't change Ukraine. You can't change Trump. Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to be back in the saddle again.
I know, me too.
And maybe we can do it again next week.
Next week, I'm down. I've been having a hissy. I'm like, I want to do my podcast. I haven't done it forever. It's been like 800 years.
Yeah, so we'll get back into doing it and stuff and talking about things and doing the whatnots.
And the whatnots.
And then just by you being you are embracing and embodying that.
You're right.
The teacher thing. So you're right.
I'm gonna remember that because that's a lie I'm telling myself.
You with them words now.
You know.
You right.
You right. You know what it is.
All right. Well,
our country fell out. Our ratchet country fell out.
Fell out.
I say that sometimes. I'll be like, turn left. And I'm like, oh my God, my country fell out. Like sometimes it'll just fall right out.
Yeah. I have different voices.
We never do our voices on here. I realized that no one had heard my countrywoman voice before when I'm like, get out of them damn dishes, you bad baby. Like my family, I sent them the funny video with the dog on the anniversary. Everyone was like, who is that? I was like, it's me.
I think that you and I might be similar in that maybe if there's a little bit of like, hey, go ahead and do it now, it's not as good as when you do it organically. I think you
for
and
sure
I name in that way, but
it comes up when it comes up.
Yeah, but I think that the more that we do these podcasts, that there's a chance that it would, because like I feel that my country accent, I feel like I've got like 3 of them. I don't know.
Oh yeah, you've got like the old man. Yeah,
I don't know which one's coming when I do it.
Yes.
But when I do it, it's dialed in. But if it was like, hey, go ahead and do it right now, I'll be like, hey, we'll do it next week.
I know. Well, next time. I know the one I just did wasn't that great, but the video, I could piss myself watching it.
All right, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, wait, we have to be talking. Okay, so tell me what you're gonna make for dinner tonight.
I'll tell you, I'm probably going to go on ahead and get down and get some more of that chicken from the store down the street. And, it's been a while since I've had mac and cheese, but I know that the carbohydrates are not the best for me.
They aren't.
My life coach, he told me to be more mindful of what I put in my body. So I'm really trying to.
He told me to stop with the craft, and I can't.
That's right, that's how they get you, though.
That it is. That's how they get. That's the old man. I love the old man one. Oh, it's so good. You even did an old man laugh.
I don't know. It's like, you never know. I'll start talking like a foreign European person or something, but it might sound
Dude.
like Bosnian or over here, and then more
True.
like a Irish foreign, like what?
Yeah,
you know,
my British accent. I started the accents as a kid because it would make my mom laugh, and I loved the way I felt when people laughed at me. Not like haha, you suck, but
laugh with you.
And yes, yeah. And so comedy definitely became a way of making people smile.
That's
making them smile real big.
That's a strong similarity between us, and I think that's why we have this.
Oh, and it's also a fantastic defense mechanism.
For sure. Natural brother, sister, kind of like, it's like
yes.
We're meant to do this podcast because of that similarity, Like,
it's weird. Whenever you were doing your first, we were just texting, you're doing like your first accent, I'm like, are we the same person?
What?
Like, who else does weird accents for no reason? Yeah. Like, we'll be talking about anything, and then now it's funnier and better because there's a weird accent.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Or if we start doing the stupid emoji things, and I was like, because I'd never done it before.
It's the best. But I found out that because I would send a couple of them to someone in a row, well, now they're all playing over. It might have been you too. They're all playing over. It's
I was also like, how does he change his people so fast? I'm like, shit, I can't change my little person. You were like banging him out. Yeah, I was got iPhone skills.
This is a good episode number, whatever it is. Do you want to say something before we go?
Woo woo crew. Ow. Let's just start silent dancing, and then everyone's like checking their phone thinking it's broke. We're just kidding. We're here.